Grandpa Neil lived an epic life. He learned how to hunt and fish in the forests of Pennsylvania. His father owned a jewelry and watch store where he was able to learn fine detail skills. He once told me a story about his dad's vegetable and flower garden and how their neighbors always wanted to know the secrets to their success. This is where Grandpa's interest in alchemy and chemistry began to grow. The fireplace held the secret to the Wolf family garden. Instead of taking the ashes of the hearth to the trash like their neighbor, they smartly placed the ashes into the garden soil. Epic harvests ensued from their close attention to nature and the patterns inherent within. He joined the Air Force and learned bombing avionics, which helped continue that interest in fine electrical work and technology. With the Air Force, he traveled across America to Mississippi, Colorado, and California, and finally landed back in Louisiana. Him and Grandma had 8 children between traveling the U.S. and settling back in Metairie. Grandpa would begin building a lab in the house by the time I came of age to have memories of him. He would fire chemicals in the lab and it would smell of sulfur throughout the house. He would proudly display the platinum, gold, and silver that he was producing from his distillations and transmutations, taking copious notes, doing the math, and weighing the metals. He was always looking for new substances to experiment with. So whenever I would travel to the beaches of Florida with my dad, he would request a jar of sand he brought back to analyze in his lab. He took his alchemical skills into the kitchen and began working microwave magic, baking bread, making popcorn, and blending up epic milkshakes. The most intense coffee and sugar was always in his pot, and he proclaimed that it would put hair on your chest, and it sure did. Frozen fruits and veggies were always on the ready, along with a frozen beer stein and bubbly to chill with. His microwave catfish was always inspiring to me, that a microwave could make the most excellent futuristic food. Back in the 90s, he had one of the first computers I got introduced to. It was a black and yellow monitor that had this amazing physics scheme where you had to calculate the trajectory of a banana thrown by King Kong from one city skyscraper to hit another King Kong spray. He also was fascinated by the movements of the cosmos, so he showed me a simulator of the solar system where he aligned the planets in the future. His dot matrix printer would create pages of black and white images waiting to be colored. His stacks of National Geographic kept him up to date with all the science and allowed his guests to the house a wealth of ideas. He knew he could teach himself science, and with the power of Encyclopedia Britannica, he faced this scientific world. His grandchildren would bring him school textbooks on physics and science that he was always thankful to have access to. Any piece of smart technology that was given to him was appreciated and fascinating. I remember Christmas trees on Christmas Eve, the spikiest of the lot, then strung up with egg-sized glass Christmas bulbs for all to gather around. The memories of a full house waiting to eat amazing turkey made with his secret recipe that wowed everyone every year. Finally, a memory of him as the fisherman, fishing behind the levee by the Mississippi River one day when Grandpa caught a massive alligator gar. The fish was so strong and wild that by the time we got it to shore, it was flipping all over the place and eventually landed in a sprawling ant pile. Grandpa's concern was to help the fish get out of the ant pile and back into the water. But the gar was having none of it, since there was a hook in his mouth and he was covered in ants. So sacrificing his own hand and arm to the ant pile, Grandpa grabbed the gar, pulled out the hook, and tossed him back into the pond. What an epic fishing trip. What an epic life he lived. A legacy remembered by his numerous offspring and the people he connected with in the community. His good nature allowed him to live a life full of joy and curiosity. He will be missed.